How you doing, YouTubers, Facebookians, and Twitterizers? My name's Cody Flesher, and I'm just gonna make a video to review the album Now by Fireflight. Um, when I came to listening to this album, um, I had already listened to their previous album, Unbreakable, and so I had a preconceived notion of what a Fireflight album should sound like. Um, I was rather disappointed in what I actually heard. So I'll just kind of break down the songs and give the high points and low points that I thought um, are worth mentioning. The album starts out with the song "Stay Close," which has been one of the singles that the band has released from the album, and this is one of the songs that I like from the tracks that are offered. The introduction to the song is immensely catchy. It grabs your attention, and you are ready to rock as soon as you hear that. The band put together tight harmonies throughout the song, and that adds to different layers to the piece that add to the interest. Another beneficial point to it is that there is a lot of driving guitar. It's hard, it's raw, it's full of emotion, and that's one of the uh, best parts about this song. Not to mention that within the emotion that's found in the guitar part, that is also extremely apparent in the drum beat, which is just phenomenal. And the drummer is just wailing on the drums, and that just makes it so powerful and full of emotion. Another thing that leads me to this band is the fact that they are female driven, which is a rarity in the Christian rock world. I know there are a few, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but it's just refreshing to see female fronted bands well, in general, but in the Christian realm, Christian rock realm in particular. Um, as we move on to the next track is Ignite. Now, when I started this track up, I immediately thought of Linkin Park's Somewhere I Belong. In the instrumentation, it just immediately drew my mind to say, okay, I've heard this before, this sound, and I thought of Somewhere I Belong. Um, so I've got that notion playing in my head with the previous notion of Fireflight's or other album that I've listened to, and so it's kind of conflicting. I felt let down to a certain extent, but I gave it a chance. I gave the song a chance. You get to the chorus, I didn't particularly care for the mix of the audio with the voices and the instrumentation. It just seemed that there was so much going on, and I think there was a little bit too much of the vocal decay effect that subtracted from the message that was trying to go on. Um, in Within the song, within the verses, it seemed that the chords, the chord structure, progression, the key of the chorus versus the one in the verses, the one in the chorus versus the one in the verses. Yeah, okay, there we go. It seemed dissonant. They didn't seem to match, but they didn't seem to go anywhere. It, I think, well, I think what I was thinking that the message that's portrayed in the verse and the message that's portrayed in the chorus don't match with the modality that's being used. I'll have to go back and listen to that again so I can get a clearer understanding. I took notes, but I need a clearer understanding or remembrance of what I was thinking at the time. Um, and then another thing that I realized in this song was that Dawn's um, rich register, the high range that she used in the previous album, is just non-existent throughout most of the album, but especially not in this one, and so that was kind of a letdown. Um, in the next track, which is called Escape, it's it's it has a different feel from the previous two songs, and it seems at the time, well, it seems to be out of place. I would not have placed that song there. Um, Compared to Ignite, the previous song, I feel that the chorus mix was better. The mix of voices with instrumentation was better. And so that um, was raised it up, in my opinion. Um, Now, when I was listening to timings, I think it sounded to me as if the timings were off, as if they weren't polished, and that kind of distracted me as I was listening because I wasn't sure. I mean, I know they're the artists; they construct the song how as they want it, but it just seemed not correct, or not. It just didn't sound right, and it's um now, one thing that I did like about this song was, again, the drummer is just amazing. Just laying into the drums, and it reminds me of Catherine Hawk from who is the drummer from Coyote Run. Look them up on YouTube. They're a Celtic rock group. They've been together 12 years. They are disbanding, but um, they have put together some phenomenal music in their run. No pun intended. Um, but yeah, I definitely give them a shout out on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and in iTunes if you're interested in that type of music. Moving on. I do also like the Floating Dream interlude at the very end that leads to the fade out, with the faint use of the voice, kind of reminiscent of a dream, and the chorus overlaying that, and the drum beat. I just think it was brilliantly put together. Um, and finally, I think that in this song, the voice effects used seemed to fit. It didn't overpower the music, and so I think that was a good point in this song. Now, the next song is called He Weeps. This song, it started with an a cappella voice, and it built into a sparse instrumental. The chorus starts in major, and so the whole reference throughout the song of Jesus weeping alongside us doesn't seem to fit. I think the keys clashed with the message, and it unsettled me, because I'm wondering what's going on here. You've got Jesus weeping with you in your times of trouble. Okay, that makes sense. But in the verses explain the troubles that you're going through, and the key is in minor. But as you get into the chorus, it's supposed to be uplifting, but you're talking about Jesus weeping with you. I would think that you would want to talk about Jesus being there to dry your tears or to help you up or lift you or hold your hand or something like that. So that just struck me as interesting. I don't know what their original thought was, but when you listen to it, you decide. Yeah, it just struck me as different to say the least. And so as I was listening to this song, that was striking me. And then I reached the end of the song, and I didn't realize it. And my thought was, when the music faded, my initial thought was, that's it. And so needless to say, I was pretty disappointed in this song. That was kind of a letdown. The next song was called Keeping Me Alive. I came into this song in my immediate thought after the previous song, He Weeps. I thought, I'm losing interest. I'm thinking there's a bad song order coming. Bad song order making itself known. I digress, but see, I think that when you're making an album, you need to make a splash at the beginning, and in this case, with this type of album, keep the energy up till the end, and then bring it back into a more worshipful mode. That's sort of how I see it with every other Christian rock artist that I listen to, specifically Pillar, Switchfoot, 1,000 Foot Crutch. Who were some other ones? Not Burning Yesterday. That's one of their songs. But anyway, you get the idea. So, I when I came into this song, Keeping Me Alive, I was losing interest because I thought there was a bad song order. So, and due to the fact that I was looking for a harder album like Unbreakable, and I wasn't finding it here. So, as I was listening to this song, I thought, well, it's very flat. There's no real high points. There's no peaks, and it just seems flat. In the bridge, I think that it seemed as if Michelle was off. She seemed a little sharp, and that was dissonant with the music. I don't know if that was intentional, but it just struck my ear as off. Also, I looked at the song as just kind of a standard CCM song reminiscent of Mercy Me, which is a great band. I love them. I can only imagine. Not Who Am I? Here Am I? Here Am I? Yeah, so it just seems standard, something you'd hear Michael W. Smith sing. So I got to the end of the song, realized there's nothing out of the ordinary in the vocalics or the instrumentation to really attach me to that song. I didn't see any creative rhythms. There wasn't any change-ups. It was straight rhythm. And so, I wasn't too intrigued by that song either. But there is hope, and it will pick up. So the next song, Stronger Than You Think, this is my favorite song from the album. I immediately thought as I started listening to this, okay, I think we may recover from here. In the beginning, they used a radio effect on the voice, which I'd already heard before in the album, so it was kind of uninteresting, but I loved the hard instrumentation. It was raw and powerful, and and that raw power, that rawness and the power actually showed in Michelle's voice. During the chorus, they had the male singer and Michelle in simple octaves, but it worked. It it hadn't been used before, so it actually worked, and it wasn't too much. At the beginning of verse 2, Michelle pulls back and then builds throughout the pre-chorus. Then we go into the chorus again, and at the end of that second chorus, the rhythm is switched up, which adds a little bit of interest because it pulls you back into the song and makes you say, well, okay, something happened. What went on? As I said before, I think this might be my favorite album. And after that second chorus, you go into the bridge, and there is a sudden silence. The instruments cut out, go dead, and Michelle says, "This is gonna hurt," and it's just raw, pure, not screaming, but slightly rough, and it's just in your face. There's no effect on the voice. It's completely deadpan, and it's just, that is the best part of the song. Then we enter verse 3. It was reminiscent of Evanescence, which is good. I was very pleased with that, but it just seemed as if I had heard some of the chord structures, progressions before in some of Evanescence's stuff. And then they cut out. I couldn't really understand the words. I guess it was maybe some of the verse or choruses or whatnot, and so it seemed like it was part of maybe a piece of the song, and they used that radio effect again, which I'm not a fan of. So anyway, on to the next song. The next song was "Prove Me Wrong." When the song started out, there was an excellent rhythm. It was new, something different. So I was thinking, okay, that's good. That's a plus for the song. Now, they tried to mix the minor and major modes, and they were successful at it this time, in my opinion, because they were able to transition from the minor into the major and yet keep the power for Michelle to express her emotion. Oddly enough, the song was 3 minutes and 33 seconds long, and because of the significance of the number 3 in the Bible, I just 333 for the win. I reached the end of this song thinking, I still have not heard those belted notes that Michelle's known for, and I'm still looking for that, but we're still on an uptrend here. So when we went to the next song, and then I got to the end of the song. I thought this right before the end of the song, and then we got to the end, and it just seemed to end. It didn't resolve or something, and I felt like the guy from the Coke Zero commercials, who's, they show him something, he goes, and, so, it's kind of I get to the end, and so anyway, mostly solid piece. I did enjoy it a lot. It just kind of seemed to end. Maybe I need to listen to it a couple more times. So the next song was "Dying for Your Love." When this song first started, I was confused. I didn't know where it was going, and I had to listen to the song to know what the heck I was going to think about this one, because the instrumentation is just so weird. But then I got into it and was let down. I had already heard this type of song on this album already, and as I was going through the song, there was no power, nothing to grab me, and I think in this case the drummer had a little bit too much hi-hat, and even at that there was too much high end, not enough bass to ground the song, and it just kind of was overwhelming to the ears. I mean, my speakers were whining at listening to it, and I didn't even have it on a high volume. It was just, let's see, I'm at 20% speakers, and that's what I was listening to it at. And I think my VLC was at 119%, which is in the yellow, so that's not overdriven at all. So yeah, this was a slight dip in the coaster here for the album. Then we go to the ninth song, which is Rise Above. When I started listening to this, I'm thinking, okay, it's a 7-Eleven song. You say 7 words 11 times. I thought as Michelle was singing that it's almost too low for her. And then I started thinking again that I've heard this somewhere before in a 7-Eleven song, and I was racking my brain, and I finally figured out what it is. It reminded me of "Holy Is the Lord God Almighty" by Chris Tomlin. So that was kind of disappointing that I could actually recognize a song that sounded similar to the one I was listening to. That was supposedly brand new. Then we reached the bridge. It's pretty boring dynamics wise, notes, structure, and then there was a momentarily bad volume mix at the pickup end of the last chorus. One of Michelle's words just kind of blurted out, and then it immediately went back to normalized volume. So that was kind of strange that the mixer didn't pick that up, or producer. And so finally, we get to the last song now. It coming from the previous song, coming from Rise Above, we enter now, and it's full out rock. It just seems weird to go from a 7-Eleven song to full out rock. You go from praise and worship to just raw power, and it just, again, the song order, I don't know what they were thinking, but like I said, I think that you want to catch people's attention, keep them pumped, and then calm them down at the end, and have the more worshipful stuff at the end. I was listening to this, and I said, well, it reminds me of something, and what could that be? And I realized that it reminded me of the Power Rangers video game introduction on Nintendo Entertainment System, the NES. No, Super Nintendo. On the Super Nintendo. Listening through the first verse, there were some strange metaphors talking about a swing and a miss might break your hide, and talking about breaking your back. Yeah, I would have tried to express that in a different way. I mean, I can't really judge the words because I didn't write them, but it just seems kind of interesting with the choice of words. So anyway, I do like the instrumentation, and the phaser effect towards the end of the song on the vocalics is excellent. I thought it was a good choice, and at the very end of the album, we finally get one of those pure belt notes in the last song, and so finally we end on a high note. Ha 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 ha. So thanks for watching. I hope to do this with other albums soon. I've got, who is it? I got Worldly View by Anthem of the Lonely, and I guess I'll do that one next, because that's one of my new ones. Alright, as always, peace out and God bless.